Supreme Court overturned a 40-year-old precedent known as the Chevron deference, which ruled the courts should defer to a government agency's reading of any ambiguous laws or statutes rather than interpreting it for it themselves. So here to explain the potential ramifications of this ruling, particularly on the financial world, we're going to welcome in Leah Dempsey. She's Brownstein's shareholder and co-chair of Financial Services Practices Group. Thank you so much for being here with us, Leah. I want to start just on the kind of interpretation of this news. So as a reminder to folks, this is the idea that, there were limitations within the degree to which lawmakers and political appointees could interpret certain laws. They would defer to experts on each individual type of doctrine and decision. This used to be a bipartisan issue. What changed, Leah?
Yes, well, so interestingly, this came out under Justice Scalia during the Reagan administration in the 80s. It was an interpretation of the Clean Air Act. But over time, I think the conservative wing of the court thought that it became a separation of powers issue where, Congress wasn't necessarily delegating certain authorities to the agencies, but the agencies were seeing a silent or ambiguous statute as the opportunity to promulgate rules that, may align with a certain political party. And has been a lot of litigation on this issue. I think over 18,000 cases have cited the Chevron deference. And over time, different courts have looked at this differently. Really, the Supreme Court in recent years has not necessarily relied on Chevron as much. They've relied on a new case, the West Virginia versus EPA, which introduces a whole nother issue called the major questions doctrine. But this ruling is significant and will have a number of ramifications for the financial services industry.
Okay, so talk to me about those ramifications, Leah, and thank you so much for that great explanation there, just giving us the context on how this has really changed politically over time. But what is the most important thing that investors need to know about how this could impact financial regulations moving forward?
Yes, well, and so especially in the last year or two, there have been an onslaught of both financial services and housing regulations. Dozens and dozens of new regulations have been coming out of the Biden administration. Many have already been challenged in court and are in the process of litigation. But this certainly will give ammo to others that are looking to challenge new regulations, particularly in an area where an agency may have gone beyond its statutory authority. So I think, that's one area to look at, an increase in litigation, which will probably elongate the rulemaking process and create a bit of uncertainty in terms of whether rules are going to go into effect or not. There's also the process of seeking clarity through regulators, which will change, for instance, something like AI. There is not a law on the federal books that tells people exactly how to operate in that area yet. And the agencies, in many instances, have stepped in. Here now, it's now questionable how far the agencies may be able to go if Congress doesn't first tell them what to do on those issues.